Hey everybody, how y'all doing? Glad for you to see me. I guarantee. I stole that from Mr. Wilson from a long time ago on the Food Network. So, there at the bottom of your screen is the latest on Idalia. There, not a whole lot changed from the 5 o'clock. The wind speed went up to 45 instead of 40 mile per hour. And the reason why is the hurricane hunter just left there. They still have to input all that data into it. So I really don't think that the models are really going to get a chance to change till they get all the data in there. There was still a little while ago a hurricane hunter out in Hurricane Franklin, and so there was no 8 o'clock update on that. The last one was 5 o'clock. So, folks, on the forecast cone that I'm going to show you, that is not written in stone for the very reason I just said. With Idalia, it's still sitting down there. At one time this morning, it was going south. Another time this morning, it was going southeast. Then it was going north. It's just down there meandering and wobbling around. And they're just now starting to get data, from the hurricane hunters. So that cone is not written in stone, folks. It could be exactly how it's going to turn out tomorrow, but I expect a lot of things to shift. Okay, we got a lot to talk about tonight. There's been some storms down in Louisiana, Mississippi, and all down in the way south. That has nothing to do with Idalia. There's also been some storms over in Florida. It was really fun to watch it earlier with the storms in motion as they was going east to west. Again, nothing to do with Idalia. So we'll get right over here to monitor 6. And here we got a new area to watch. It's only 30% chance. And if it goes that direction, I don't have any hopes for it. There's Franklin. As the 5 o'clock update was a 100 mile per hour storm. They're calling for it to maybe go to Cat 4. And it's going to stay well off the coast. If it goes to the right side of the cone that I'll show you in a little bit, it might hit Bermuda. But still, our East Coast is going to have some issues with rip currents and some wave action. There's not a whole lot to talk about just yet until it gets a little bit closer to Bermuda. Here's Idalia, tropical storm. Went tropical storm this morning, 45 mile per hour wind, 995 millibar. And I tell you what, when you see the satellite view, that's pretty impressive that it's that strong already. East northeast at 3 miles per hour. So it's just kind of flunking around down there. So here's the cone. This is what everybody wants to see. So at this point, 1 a.m. Wednesday Eastern Time, they're calling for a 100 mile per hour hurricane. That'll be not long before landfall, okay? But this could change. And something I want to remind people of over here in the studio real quick is a lot of Gulf storms go through rapid intensification before landfall. I've seen so many of them. They're still studying what causes that. And this thing could speed up and get there before 1 o'clock in the morning Wednesday. It could slow down and be sometime in the afternoon. We just don't know. So take that cone with a grain of salt at this point because it hasn't really started to move very far. We'll get back over here to the cone and I'll zoom in on it here for you guys. These blue areas, those are tropical storm warnings. The yellow is tropical storm watches. Look up here on the coast. That pink area, that's hurricane watch already. I think they learned their lesson from Hurricane Ian last year. And the yellow area is tropical storm watch, tropical storm watch. But this up here is hurricane watches. So I'll show you the path of this little guy and satellite view. and it's pretty impressive, what it's doing and how the storms is growing. But it is ingesting a little bit of dry air. When she gets up here, I say sometime tomorrow. By the time it gets past the tip of western Cuba here, that's when it's going to start speeding up and getting a lot stronger. As you can see, 1 in the morning Tuesday, it's already up at hurricane status. But it's been kind of meandering around. And let's see. Here's the track of it. So it started down here. It came up close to Cancun yesterday. And then overnight, she shifted down and then she's wrapped around. That's already changed some of the models, because there were a few models that actually showed this thing, as I zoom out a little bit, that it could have went further west. Went up to like Mobile, Alabama. Some of the model runs was suggested it could go up there. But since it's shifting over here closer to Cuba, it's most likely at this point going to come up here. So here's what they got planned for this thing. Look at that. Cat 2, 100 mile per hour winds. That's real close to being a Cat 3. 111 mile per hour winds is a Cat 3. So if it goes through rapid intensification, I wouldn't doubt it one bit that it would have a chance. Now, this is on the 30th, 3 days from now, but it's going to be at 2 o'clock in the morning. So, yeah, it came off Central America. It actually, this thing, it doesn't really show it, but it actually started over here in the East Pacific and came across Nicaragua and Honduras. And then she kind of parked itself here. There's been, if you look at these winds, and I'll pause this, there's a bit of a high pressure ridge down here. That's kind of been hurting it the last several days because of those winds coming up and shearing it off. But, and something I've been talking about the last several days, let's see. We'll wait for that. Something I've been talking about the last several days. We'll get up here to satellite, Atlantic, Gulf, is a trough. We've had this front come down through here, and we've had a trough. This thing, something that's been really confusing the models is where this trough is going to end up with a low pressure surface low. If you watch these clouds, they're going up and around. There's a bit of a spin up here, so there's low pressure right there. And some of the models had that low pressure shifting west. If it does that, it's going to help to steer it. On the other hand, if that low pressure system has to park itself over here, it'll shear it. It'll shear Idalia with these winds wrapping around like that. But the models are pretty much saying that low pressure is going to end up over here. That'll help to steer it. That high pressure ridge I showed you a little bit ago, that's going to end up moving up here once Franklin gets out of the way. And that's also going to help steer it. So the timing on this low and the timing on the high pressure ridge that'll end up over here is going to kind of determine the exact path. Okay, so let's get that out of the way. Here you can really see Idalia. And if you look right in this area right here, that's where the center of it is right now. So you can see she's pretty clustered. You can see this northwest side of it is looking kind of sparse. That's some of that dry air that's feeding into it. It'll get over that, according to what the models are showing, all of them. It'll get past that dry air, holding it back. Once it gets up here off the west tip of Cuba, and then things start getting exciting. But we got to wait. till tomorrow. I know that's not what you want to hear, but so that's Idalia. And as far as recons, let's go back over here. Now I can show you this. Let's get all the way down. This was the G4 that just got done. It just went back up here to Florida. All these numbers is where they drop dropsons. And like it was said on the Weather Channel, it kind of looks like, you know, a lawnmower going back and forth. Well, the reason why they're doing all that up here is they want to see what the environment is out ahead of Idalia, get kind of a better idea of what's going on. Then they did go down through Idalia, down at the bottom here, right there, and kind of went through and took a look at all this, and then she came back up here to Florida and just landed not too long ago, probably about the top of the hour it landed. So all that data will go into the models, and we'll get a better look. That's Franklin, by the way. It's got a bit of an eye in it. I'll talk about that in a little bit because Idalia is more important right now. But if you are in a watch area, I don't care if it's a tropical storm watch down to the south or the hurricane watch, that those watches goes, as well as the surge watch, goes from Apalachicola all the way down to Everglades City. So, but the hurricane watch and the tropical storm watch, if you're in that, start getting prepared now. Don't wait till Tuesday, because it's going to come in. I mean, the tropical storm force winds will already be hitting before this thing gets close to land. So I would go ahead and get started. Well, it's late now, but I would go ahead and get started no later than tomorrow morning. When do the new models come out? Depends on which model. Some of them is every 12 hours, some of them is every 6 hours. So there will be probably a pretty decent update at 11 o'clock. But talking about recons, let's get back over here to monitor 6. I want to show you what's going on. Could it go Cat 3? Yes. Like I say, Bearcat, these storms could go through rapid intensification. A lot of the Gulf storms, if you go back and look, almost all of them, or at least most of them, go through rapid intensification before landfall, like Ian did. And they started once to make Ian, however you want to say it, a Cat 5. Officially, it made Cat 4 landfall, but it was a real strong Cat 4. So, yeah, I wouldn't put it past this thing to make it at least Cat 3. Right now, they're saying Cat 2 as of the 5 o'clock update. Before that, it was only 90 mile per hour winds before it made it to the Big Bend area. Anyway, this was the flight that just got done. It was the NOAA 9, which was a G4 class. And then we got the Air Force C-130. Apparently, it's coming back after going through Franklin. So let's go ahead over here to Nessium. And again, this is what Idalia did. And I'll zoom out. So that's the track of Idalia. Each one of these, it looks like little microphones. Those are dropsons that I can actually look at the data. Well, maybe that C-130 is still playing around with Franklin. The water temps in the Gulf is upper 80s. Upper 80 sea surface temperatures. Now, the one thing about Idalia, and we'll come over here to the main, is how deep is that warm water? And I'll zoom in on this. Here's the Gulf. It's down there in really deep warm waters. And this is important This blue area, that's the continental shelf. That's where the waters start getting really shallow. So the surface temp of 88, 89 degrees doesn't go very deep. But the track on this thing, and I better do this in blue, it's down in here right about now, somewhere in there. It's going to, if it takes this path, that's some really deep warm waters. And that's when it's going to make hurricane status, is where that's red right there. So very deep warm waters. This is still pretty warm. Now this is all in Celsius naturally. Well, that's actually not written in Celsius, it's kilojoules. But hey Sharon, hey, thanks for sharing that info. Also, if you live in Florida, here's a couple tidbits. Go ahead and check out floridadisaster.org. floridadisaster.org. A lot of good information there if you live in Florida. And as far as what the Hurricane Center is talking about today, as we go back over to the main, hurricane preparedness. Get moving when the storm threatens. Well, now that the watches is already out this early, here's a list of things that you should be doing. Protecting your home, determine sheltering options, consider your pets for sure. Get ready your go bag, meds, supplies, charge your phone, fill up. But if you are in the Tampa area, don't fill up at a Citco, at a station that is supplied by Citco. I'll show you that article here in a minute. Some diesel fuel got contaminated in the unleaded gasoline. Also, I've heard it several times on TV. If you live in Florida and you're buying disaster supplies, batteries, weather radio, whatever, at the major department stores, you will get it tax-free. They won't charge you sales tax. Yeah, tax-free this weekend. So help your neighbors. Check on them. Make sure that they've got a plan, especially the elderly and other vulnerable people. So, and follow evacuation orders if given, which they will. And try to help each other out. Now, as far as that article I was talking about, I found this. This is from the Fox 13 page, talking about the Citgo gasoline from Port of Tampa contaminated with diesel. And it has a list of all the gas stations not to fill up. Now, if you filled up before 10 in the morning yesterday, you're good. After 10 o'clock, not so good. So it was human error. And there's a lot of these stations. They're not Citgo stations, but Citgo, they buy the fuel from Citgo, and it happened at Citgo. So you got a bunch of 7-Elevens. It gives their address. If you live in Florida, go check this website out. I'll post it here for you. That's the link that I'm looking at. It gives you a complete list, which is a ton of them. Weather Channel said, it wasn't that many. Bull. There's a lot of them. So go check that out. Hopefully you don't have diesel fuel in your unleaded car, because it will run like crap, and if it's too much of it in there, it won't run at all. Diesel fuel is not combustible like gas. So So yeah, this forecast code is not written in stone just yet. This thing's going to wobble anyway. They always do. But be prepared. And I'm saying, if you live anywhere from here to here, be prepared, because this thing could shift. Right now, I don't see that happening. Most of the models is showing that low pressure trough come down over here. That'll help to steer it into the Big Bend area. Again, the high pressure ridge that's down here right now, after Franklin goes away, gets further north, this high pressure ridge is going to set up here and will also help to steer. How that plans out, could, change things. For example, the high pressure ridge, which is down here right now, it's fairly weak, not very, very broad. Let's say it comes over here. It's not going to have near the influence on this thing. And if the low parks itself here, or maybe a little bit further east, it could take Idalia and shift it south. Remember, just like I showed you with Hillary, there was a low pressure system and the high pressure ridge, a huge one in the middle of the country, and that opened the gateway for Hillary to go the direction that it did. So the same thing here. If for some reason the low pressure parks itself there and the high pressure ridge comes over here, that's going to open a gateway for this area. So pretty much, if you live in Florida, be prepared. Now, the European model is not as aggressive as the GFS now, which is normal. In the past several days, the GFS has not showed it near as strong, but the GFS does have it a lot stronger, but the GFS has it coming more inland this way, where this is more like the European track. It's going to cross over, affect Georgia, North and South Carolina, and if it goes off the coast, it could strengthen. At this model run, it's going to show it to be about a 50 mile per hour tropical storm after it crosses back over into Atlantic. So this thing could do some hokey things, but again, don't take this and take it as a grain of salt right now, because this isn't written in stone yet. I will know a whole lot more tomorrow, and definitely, as the National Hurricane Center said early this morning, if you live anywhere in those affected areas that's in the watches, check your weather at least twice a day. Or check the forecast at least twice a day. They'll be giving updates like every 3 hours on this thing. They've already started doing that. And this thing's pretty close. I mean, here it is Sunday night, and it's down there where I showed you, down in the Western Caribbean, off the just south of the tip of Western Cuba. And by Wednesday, it could be making landfall in the middle of the night, wee hours of the morning. So anyway, so let's start looking at. It's a very short time period on this thing. As far as U.S. rainfall so far, 6 to 10 inches in this orange area. There's some of the model runs, like the Euro actually has Tampa could get up to a foot. Some of the model runs are showing that. Again, a lot of this information is going to change by tomorrow. So we got to keep a close eye on this one. Every time a storm gets down there in the Western Caribbean and is aimed towards the Gulf of Mexico, I alarm bells start going off in my head. It did with Ian last year. So as far as possible, let's see, the best arrival times according to this forecast, and this is going to change. Look at it. Monday night, possible tropical storm force winds up here. Monday night, down here in the Florida Keys and the southern tip of Florida, tropical storm force winds. And Tuesday morning, it's more up here around the Tampa area. And believe me, folks, this is going to change. It depends on how fast this thing moves or how slow it moves. It's going to change the timing on this thing. And it's going to have a pretty broad wind field. I mean, look at this cone for tropical storm force winds. And that's the reason why I said if you live like over Mobile, Alabama, all the way to the southern tip of Florida, from there to here, be alarmed. Now, the strongest side is going to be over here on that eastern side. So, and then even 8 o'clock Wednesday morning. I mean, look at this up here in South Carolina. So, yeah, if you live anywhere in Florida, all the way up to Mobile, Alabama, let's keep an eye on this thing. Now, as far as watches and warnings, again, come on now, get back up here. From Apalachicola, clear down here, that's a hurricane watch. But clear down to Everglades City is a tropical storm watch. So anywhere along this coast. Now, storm surge. Here's the storm surge watches that's already out. Get the satellite. Well, might look better for you guys in the gray. There we go. Like I said, Everglades City's there, Apalachicola's up here, all along the coast. All along the coast. And as far as flash flood potential, I mean, that whole slight area from Everglades City all the way up past Tallahassee and all the way up, that's a slight 15%, which is pretty strong. Hey, thanks for the follow. And peak surges. This is interesting, and this will change. This will change. So this red area there, up to 11 feet peak storm surge. This will most likely go up, depending on, how much stronger this thing gets. Clear down here in the blue, that's up to 3 feet. All that yellow, up to 6 feet. You got an area here in orange there and here. Could have 4 to 7 up here, 5 to 8 down here. And again, a lot of this is going to change, folks. There's all kinds of information available. If you know something that I haven't mentioned and you got a website for it, go ahead and put it in there. I think I have the settings allowed for you to put web links. Sharon's always on top of it because she lives down in Florida. So, any questions? Gosh, that was a whole lot to talk about, and I did it pretty darn fast. Jane up there in Michigan, I'm glad to hear from you. I was really worried about you. Did you have a power outage up there? I know there was a tornado up there by Lansing the other day. It's been really nice with the the trough was out for 24 hours. Some are still out. Let's take a look at that. Let's get over here. Yeah, we still have 88,500 in Michigan. 88,584 to be exact. Still without power up there in Michigan. I even, here in the state of Ohio, we still got almost 21,000. So, Yeah, there was a lot of that. That was pretty strong um, Bow Echo system. I never did hear if it was actually considered derecho. I know it produced a lot of damage, Michigan and down through Ohio, and there was a lot of damage even over here in uh, Pennsylvania. So the tornado formed over you. Wow, that's one thing I was worried about. Yeah, it was in the F2. And that's what I was worried about because I know you live up in that area. So, um, if you guys don't have that website, it's poweroutage.us. This website here I'm looking at. Well, Jane probably scared the hell out of that tornado. That's the reason why it didn't hit her. She pulled her pea shooter out. So I do want to take a look at the models. I should have them all in by now. Let's take a look at the forecast models. I got to change this region. Let's go Western Atlantic. Here's Franklin. This is Franklin here. And here's Idalia. And I'll know more tomorrow about North Carolina. Like I said, they just got done with the first Hurricane Hunter. Tomorrow, there's going to be quite a few out, not only for Franklin, but Idalia too. We're going to have Air Force and NOAA aircraft out there tomorrow. Let's take a look at that. I can give you a list of what's up for tomorrow. So we got a teal going out to Franklin. And this is the NOAA 49 going to Idalia. Then we'll have a teal 71 going to Idalia. Then NOAA 43 will be going to Idalia. So they're going to be, it's actually, there's another flight scheduled for 11 o'clock tonight. And then tomorrow we're going to have all these. One going out to Franklin, but the rest of them is all going to Idalia. And what's really nice is this bottom one right here. I'll zoom in on it. Tail Doppler radar. And they'll get a lot of information from that one. Expect a lot of power outages down there in Florida too. It's going to happen. Just know that, okay? So let's take a look at the vorticity in the atmosphere from the GFS. This is Idalia here, and again, Franklin, man, he's a cooking out there. He's having a lot of fun. He's got a lot of warm water up here. There's what they call the Gulf Stream that goes up the East Coast, and then it turns out to the east, and it's all real warm waters until he gets past that Gulf Stream up to the north up there. So Franklin's got a lot of fuel to play with, and that's the reason why a lot of the models are saying it could get as high as a Cat 4. Anyway, let's watch Idalia. This is the GFS. Look how close these lines are. I'll zoom in on it right here. Look how close the isobars are together. Really strong winds right before landfall. Like I said, the GFS finally decided to be more bullish about this thing. And now the GFS doesn't have it coming north inland. It's got it going right over South Carolina. Bothering a bit of North Carolina there. And then turning out to sea and falling apart. Ooh, do we have something else that might brew down here? Oh, that's going to cross over to the east pack. So let's back this up and look at the Euro. This is the 12Z run of the Euro. And look how she really strengthens, but not quite as strong as the GFS. Pretty much the same area. and turning out to see a little bit quicker than what the GFS said. But what I've always said, when the GFS and the Euro starts coming together, that's when I should really start to pay attention, because when the models, the GFS says one thing and the Euro says something else, then it's like still up in the air what's going to happen. But now the GFS is starting to come around to where the Euro's been for the last few days. So that's a sign that there's more and more confidence. Once they get, like I showed you, the G4 did that zigzag over the Gulf, is taking all the environment information and going to put it into these models, plus what it found down in Idalia. And so that'll be in the 11 o'clock update, most likely. I won't be live streaming for that. I'll probably be asleep again if I can. But definitely tomorrow, when they start sending out all those aircraft out there tomorrow, boy, the models could really change. They may stay the same. The cone may actually be right already, but I question that a little bit. It did the same thing with Ian. Once Ian got past Western Cuba, every model run, it started shifting a little bit, and shifted in intensity and in timing. So right now the thing's only moving 3 miles per hour, so it's just down there meandering around. The thunderstorms around it are building stronger and stronger. That northwest side's starting to fill in, and then sometime tomorrow it'll start moving. It's like, I'm ready, let's hit the fan. So that's what I foresee happening. This is my opinion from all the information I've gathered from Dr. Cohen and several others. And I didn't get to watch much of Mark Sudduth, but he had a really nice YouTube video today talking about the lessons they learned from Hurricane Ian. And so it's a little unclear what the speed might be until we get more data in. We're just now getting data today. Before today, all we had was satellite images, and all the information was coming from satellite. So now we're starting to get that data in. We're going to know a whole lot more, but you're talking from tonight until 1-2 o'clock Wednesday morning is the cone right now. And that's a real short time, so the models are pretty much showing it's going to be moving fairly fast, but it could slow down. I don't think it's going to get to a point. A lot of times hurricanes, when they get really strong, they go through what's called an eye wall replacement, and then they really get strong once that second eye wall tightens up. I don't think it'll do that. I don't think it'll have a chance. It's just not enough time. But I was wrong with Harold. So, hey, Stacy. I will post this VOD. It'll be later tonight because I got to download it, edit the music off the beginning, and then upload it. And Twitch takes forever, 2 to 3 hours after it's uploaded to them to go over the video and make sure it's okay to publish. I will also put it over on my YouTube channel, so be sure, if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, you ought to do that, because these important VODs I'll also post over there. And for those that came in late, or those, if you ever miss any of my live streams, then you can go over there to YouTube and watch it and get caught up on it. I don't know what time I'll stream tomorrow for sure. Definitely 8 o'clock. But because things will just start to happen in the afternoon, if there's something really, really important to let you guys know, I'll probably do maybe a 5 o'clock update. Depends on if I'm awake or not. By the time I got up out of bed today, it was 5 o'clock. And it took 6 cups of coffee to get me where I am now. So, There you go. There's my YouTube. I'm surprised my bot hadn't put it up. Well, yeah, it was. It put it up a little bit ago. Hey, you're welcome, Charlie. Any questions? Yep. Don't be scared. Be aware. It's better to be informed. Your nerves won't be near as bad if you know what's coming, why it's coming, and what the forecast outlook is. I mean, I was listening to the Weather Channel earlier, and one of them's down there in Tampa. I think it was Seidel. And he said people were coming up to him, oh, what's up with this hurricane? Is it going to be a hurricane? So a lot of people know that it's coming, but they don't know the information. So impacts to Jacksonville. A little too early to tell. I definitely know more tomorrow. Will Jacksonville get impacted? Yes. You're definitely going to get a lot of rain out of it. Probably some tropical storm force winds, possible. The wind field on this thing, you imagine, if it's Cat 2 hurricane, possibly, who knows, maybe a Cat 3, but even if it's only a Cat 1, the wind field on this thing is going to be broad. I'll be looking at those models tomorrow once we get more data into it. But you're going to have a pretty broad wind field, and the rain envelope, especially after it makes landfall. When a tropical storm makes landfall, and they slow down, and the spin slows down when they're over land, and all of a sudden it's going to go broader. It'll get wider after landfall. Hillary did it just last week. So plan on that. You're going to get quite a bit of rain, and I mean already they're putting a pretty heavy chance up through Georgia and the Carolinas, and that'll include most of Florida, to tell you the truth. Most of Florida, and I tell you what, there's areas in Florida that's still drought stricken. And hey, good thing, man, you got you a generator. Hope you're not near the coast. Definitely, you could always have tornadoes with these tropical systems, especially in the outer bands. As the outer bands come up, they can have quick spin up tornadoes. I think the largest one that I've ever worked with is an EF2. Just my brain just switched gears for some reason. I don't know why. I was thinking about something totally different. Thinking about cars. Where did that come from? Definitely. Again, if you live in the Tampa area, be careful where you buy your fuel at. Check out that article at Fox 13 News, and then be sure you're totally prepared by tomorrow. This thing speeds up. It could be Tuesday when it makes landfall, but you're definitely going to start feeling tropical storm force winds and a lot of rainfall before it even gets there. Especially if the low pressure system is, to the west of the track, and that little high pressure ridge on the eastern part of the track, and that's going to start spreading all the rainfall up. And we've got a trough that, oh, thank goodness for this trough. It only got up in the 70s today. And that's going to, in the front's draping down through the Carolinas right now. That's going to help to pull a lot of that moisture and stuff ahead of the storm. Hey, thanks for the follow. So, everybody, I just about bet everybody's going to get rain from this thing, depending on how it shifts. It will wobble. That'll change things as well. They always do. They always do. Dorian was really bad for wobbling, and then it stalled out. And that could happen. This thing could stall out before landfall, or just barely move and just drown everybody. And remember that the northeast quadrant is where the strongest of the winds and storms are. That'll also be the side where possible tornadoes could form. So it could sprout water spouts and then come on shore as a tornado. So all threats are in this one already. And it's just an ugly little thing down there off of Cancun, southeast of Cancun. So, and already we've got all of these threats. And I foresee that it's going to get worse. Now, hopefully, I mean, as a weather guru, I like to see hurricanes. Okay? But I don't like them when they get close to land. For an example, I tell you, this is a beautiful over here on monitor 6. That's Franklin. Look at the eye in at the end of the loop. It's getting stronger. Now that I like to see. It's not hurting nobody. Some of the outflow bands from the upper levels puts these outflows out. If you look down in the bottom left-hand corner, that's headed right over for Florida. That's probably where Florida's rain came from today, because it was going east to west. So that's the way I like to see them. Hopefully though, for Florida, if that low pressure, that trough that's going to give us it's already given us a surface low, if that goes east, the wind shear from it, the wraparound will tear Idalia down. It'll just be some, strong winds and some decent rain. That would be okay. So, but it's not looking like that's going to happen. It looks like that low pressure, the surface low, is going to move west. So, and help tug Idalia across those really warm, deep, warm waters. Give her a chance to get stronger. So, any questions? Any thoughts? Any web links? Be sure, there is my Discord link. If you want to join Discord, if Sharon and anybody else that has good information, put it in the Hurricane channel on Discord. And spread the information so we can get this to people. I know most of you don't live in Florida. But they may know somebody that's down there. And if you do know somebody's down there, get in touch with them. Get them on the ball tomorrow to start making plans and get things done. So get that information out there and start saving some people's lives. I tell you what, to watch Ian last year, I mean, I was having a blast reporting on it until it got close to Florida. And then I started worrying. I even had dreams about it that night after I finally got to bed. So let's help get the information out. That's what I'm doing here. Want to let everybody know, even if you don't live in Florida, it's some good information to learn how these things work. Tomorrow I will go through more detail of what's happening with the wind field, the moisture, and all the things that makes Idalia do what it is. So yeah, thanks for posting that again, Cheryl. Do not buy gas at the gas stations listed in there. It happened, I guess, after 10 o'clock yesterday morning when diesel fuel got contaminated into the unleaded gas. You don't want to be in a hurricane and have diesel fuel in your unleaded gas. No. There's some regular thunderstorms and stuff down there. Houston to Dallas area. Nothing major at this point. That's over my shoulder there. That's Galveston and Houston all the way up to Athens, the storms. Dragon Bard, how you doing? Yeah, it'll mess with the cars. So that's all I have for tonight, folks. I will be working with this thing as soon as I get up tomorrow. I will post the 11 o'clock update over on my Discord, again in the Hurricane channel. I'll be awake for that. So that's only in a couple hours. So I'll try to give you as much coverage on this thing like I did Hillary. And yeah, Chrome works really well with Twitch. That's all I ever use. Dragon Bard, if you're just coming in, I'm done. You're late, but give me a few hours to get this VOD uploaded after I edit it, and you can watch it. Excuse me. So my throat's telling me it's time to shut her down. So thank you all for being here. Any subs, bits that I might have missed, or any direct donations to my PayPal, greatly appreciate it. Helps me to keep all this menagerie going. So this is my system right now. So thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. I hope y'all learned a little something. And what we say here on the channel for you new people is peace. Pop a top for me. I'll catch you on tomorrow's broadcast. Stay tuned, folks. This one could get crazy. Good night, all. Stay safe.